So welcome to today's midday analysis session. This is the first midday analysis of the year. I was actually supposed to start last week, but I didn't. The reason being is I wanted to do a Sunday webinar last week. We were unsure if I was going to continue this midday analysis thing. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue the midday analysis 3 days a week because it's very time consuming for me. But I've now got an employee in place that is going to be taking care of the uploads. Which is, a huge amount of the work is being taken off my back now. So all I need to really do is do the recording and be here for 30 to 45 minutes per day. The reason I was thinking about canceling these webinars and not doing them anymore was because like I said, it was very time consuming. And the thing about Forex trading for me, the most important thing about Forex trading for me is that it gives me time to do what I want to do. It gives me the freedom to do what I want to do. And being stuck at home for 3 hours per day, 3 days a week to do these analysis sessions was impeding on that freedom. I wasn't able to go out and do whatever I wanted to do during the day. I had to be home at a specific time, and then I had to be home for a few hours after that to upload the video, post it to the blog, send out all the emails. So it wasn't really something that I liked doing or that I wanted to do, but I found a solution. So we are going to continue with these analysis sessions. So yeah, I hope you guys are happy with that. Are you guys happy with that? Is this what you wanted? All right, cool. Only 3 yeses? There we go, some more yeses. All right, cool guys. So yeah, let's get started with the analysis. You guys know the drill. We're just gonna be looking through the pairs and seeing if there's any setups. The reason we're doing this analysis at 1 o'clock today, I wanted to do it at 11 because that's the time I wanna do these this year, at 11. But we had Theresa May's speech. Now I wanted that to happen first. That way we could see where currencies were after that, because if I did analysis at 11, for example, and then Theresa May spoke and pairs moved a lot, which they did, a lot of the potential trades that we saw at 11 might have been completely cancelled. So I wanted to wait till after that speech to see where price was at that time. So now we'll go through. It didn't really move a lot of the currencies, but it did move pairs like GBP USD, which was quite obviously going to happen. A lot of people were thinking, including me, that it was probably going to push down, but Theresa May actually did a lot of damage control today. While a lot of what she said was really nothing, she just talked and really said nothing, which is quite normal for politicians. Let's be honest. It did have a positive effect on the pound, so we have seen the pound pushing up quite significantly. Now it was already pushing up overnight. From what I gather, that was related to Trump. He said some more crazy stuff, as he does. But Theresa May's speech, as you can see from when it started, let's go down to the 5-minute chart. Theresa May's speech really started pushing the pound up. See, it started at 11.45 and this is 11.50, and then it went bam. So yeah, it's been pretty good so far, pretty good reaction to the speech. The pound is going back up, which is good for us because the pound was heading into areas that it hasn't been in since the 80s. Well, it's already in areas that it hadn't been in since the 80s, but at least now we have some support resistance up in these areas. But if the pound were to head a lot further down to here, we wouldn't really have any support resistance areas. So it'd be quite hard to get any GBP related trades. But right now, this is pretty good. It might give us a trade also this week, who knows. Euro GBP has dropped in reaction to the news, funnily enough. But we're going to look at a potential trade setup that might be forming here also. So let's keep a close eye on that one. But anyway, let's start from the start. I'll start from the top of the list and work my way down. Another thing you may notice is I have removed a lot of the timeframes I was using last year. Last year I was using the 3 hour, 5 hour, 7 hour, etc. I've gone back down to the 4, 6, 8, 12 daily, and I'm just focusing on those. I was using the other time frames in order to get a better picture of what price was doing, but I found that overall it wasn't really that helpful, and it just added extra time to the analysis process. I find that focusing on just these pairs is enough, and it gives you more than enough of a picture of what price is doing. The 4, 6, 8, 12 and daily. So yeah, let's start with AUD JPY and work our way down. It's in between two support resistance areas, so we're not going to get anything on AUD JPY. Let's look at AUD New Zealand, starting from the daily and work our way down. AUD New Zealand is already in a reversal, so it's already headed down. This actually looks like a good setup, but it's already triggered, so it's too late to get in. Is anyone short on this at the moment? Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't see anyone posting about this on the forum. I didn't post about it either. I'm going to adjust this area down a touch to be more in line with this current bounce. But anyway, it would have been a good setup, but it wasn't taken. AUD USD now. I opened an AUD USD short last week on the 6 hour, and it ranged for quite a while. I was pretty reluctant to close it out, but I did close it out this morning at around 4 a.m. I had a price alarm trigger when it started pulling back up. So I got out pretty much a break even with a few pips in the negative, nothing major. So this trade didn't really cost me anything significant, but yeah, it didn't go in the direction I wanted, unfortunately. That was actually my first trade of the year. It wasn't a loss, so not bad. But anyway, let's have a look at AUD USD. So it looks like AUD USD right now is stalling up here. Now, what do you notice about this level? Can anyone tell me? Around about here, let's say. Yancy, how do I determine where to set a price alarm? I just set my price alarm for that specific trade at the break-even level because I wanted to know when it was headed back up, because it was stalling for so long. I wanted to be aware when it started pushing back up. But there's no set rules of how to place price alarms. You just place them at prices that you find are going to be significant in that specific trade. So if you have a price that you are going to find significant, like a little bit before your stop loss, the break-even point, a few pips before your target, you know, that's up to you, and you decide where you want to place that alarm. Does anyone notice anything significant about this area, where I pulled the resistance area up to? It was down here. Now I've pulled it up to here. Does this look at all significant to you guys? No one? Oh, Catherine's typing. All right. I don't want to give away the answer. I want you guys to tell me. Catherine is correct. It did have several instances of support very recently. So we see this bounce here, this bounce here. Now, as you know, the changes to how I do support resistance areas over the last year and a half, I have found that current bounces are the best indicator of current support resistance. So in other words, the more recent the data, the more important. So we're currently seeing a potential bounce here, which might mean that we're getting the reversal from here. Now, I was expecting a reversal from a bit lower at this area here, and that didn't play out. You know, it started, but it didn't really do anything. And I was basing that on these two bounces. So maybe that area is wrong. Maybe it's going to actually find resistance here, and it didn't really find resistance at that previous area. Now, I'm not saying that I want to get into a trade here, but what I am saying is it looks like we are seeing a pretty big stall in price right now. It's only on the 8-hour at the moment, maybe even starting on the 12-hour, but this is a fresh 12-hour candle, so we can't really say that we're seeing much indecision on the 12-hour. But let's see how this plays out over the next 24 hours. Let's see what happens. Maybe by Wednesday, we're going to get some solid indecision on the daily here, and it might lead to a potential short trade. Now, obviously, before I would enter any trade like this, I would have to go through my risk analysis process to make sure that it is actually a valid trade, because there are a lot of problems with a potential setup here. For example, our current, really, because I haven't really moved this yet, I was just moving it to illustrate the example. Our current resistance area, it could come down to this, act as support, and continue up. So it could just be a continuation. So my point is, do keep an eye on AUD USD, because we could be seeing a potential reversal from around about this area here, like this massive area of resistance here. So keep a close eye on it and see what happens on the daily. Everyone okay with that? Everyone get that? Everyone see where I'm coming from? The whole concept of being fluid with your support resistance areas is to not get too tied down to any one placement. I had it placed here. Perhaps that was wrong. Perhaps it wasn't wrong, but perhaps the area has just moved up. Perhaps buyers were too strong, so now the area is up here. So we just have to be fluid and see how the market reacts at this new level up here. I'm going to hit my area here for now, though, and we'll just see what happens over the next 24 hours. So yeah, AUD USD, something to keep an eye on. Let's check out EUR AUD. Okay, interesting. Does everyone see what I'm seeing here with EUR AUD? Look at that. If you didn't see it on the daily, the 2-day makes it a lot clearer, doesn't it? This is the whole reason I started this weekly, this midday analysis series, to kind of show people how you shouldn't tie yourself down when you're reading price action. You shouldn't tie yourself down to time frames, to support resistance areas, because price is fluid and you have to be fluid in order to read price and to trade price. So when you look at the daily chart, you know, I guess it kind of is clear in this example, but it is a bit messy. So you might say to yourself, is there really potential for a trade here? But when you look at the same thing on the 2-day chart, the picture is much clearer. We've got solid indecision forming there. Now, it's going to be a while until this one closes, so it might not close as indecision, but this is a pretty significant support area. We could see that after this massive move down, price reacted here and reversed, had another attempt, reversed, blah, blah, blah. And then we go into this attempt not too long ago, and then it reversed again. So what's going to happen this time? Is it going to continue down, or is it going to reverse? Whatever happens, it's worth keeping an eye on. So do keep a very close eye on EUR USD. We might be seeing a good potential reversal here. Yeah, I would probably say on the daily would be best. It's been ranging quite a bit on the 12 hour. I'm going to keep an eye on this one on the daily. So that is definitely worth keeping an eye on. Euro CAD, let's check out what's happening there. We have some serious ranging on support with Euro CAD. And it's a very messy range. I don't think there's any potential for a trade here at all. No, I'm not interested in anything here. Euro GBP. Now we already know what's happening with Euro GBP. I hinted at us looking at this for a potential setup at the start of this analysis. So let me explain further. Now the thing with Euro GBP is our resistance up here. We don't have very many support resistance areas. The reason for that is that we don't really have much data. We'd have to go all the way back to 2010 to get good support resistance areas. And I'm not really sure if I want to use support resistance areas from 2010. So we don't have much resistance up here, which makes it hard to look for a target for a potential bullish reversal. So what I'm going to do, even though I don't really trust resistance areas this old, I'm going to place an area roughly here, and I want to see how it lines up. Yeah, see, it kind of does line up with this recent bounce here. So we might have a resistance area here, I'm not sure. I'm going to keep this in here for now, but I'm going to change the color of it just for myself. That way I remember that it's an area I'm not too sure about. I'm just going to make it orange. It stands out. And this will give us a potential target for a reversal trade here if one does in fact take place. Now, what potential trade am I looking at here? So on Theresa May's comments, we saw the euro fall against the pound. It's coming down to this support area. Now, this is a pretty decent support area. Not an amazing support area, but it has had a few bounces. There we go. And there's a second one, and then see how it stalled here for a bit before pushing up. So it is a decent support resistance area. And price is now falling into that support area. We're not really seeing signs of it stalling on smaller time frames, but if price were going to stall, it would likely be around this support area. So what I'm going to be doing today is keeping a close eye on this area, seeing how this develops over the next 12 to 24 hours. I want to see if we get any indecision forming here, if we get any signs of price stalling here. Let's check the 1 hour real quick. I just want to see if price is stalling on the 1 hour. All right, so yeah, we are seeing some signs of price stalling here, but you know, this is just the 1 hour. That might not carry through up until the 4 hour, the 8 hour, the 12 hour, the daily. It might not, but we are already seeing price slowing down at this support area. So let's see how this develops. That slowdown might follow through to the 4 hour, then the 6 hour, then the 8 hour, then the 12 hour. And before we know it, in a day or two, we might get a solid reversal set up on the daily chart or on the 12-hour chart. So do keep a close eye on this one. As it heads into the support area, it could reverse and come back up at least to this resistance area here. Although this is somewhat of a weak resistance area. Yeah, we'll go through the news. We'll go through the news after I'm done with the analysis, and I'm going to tie in the news to all the analysis. Fair enough, Andrew? But just so everyone understands, just because the ECB is going to make a rate decision on Thursday, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't trade the euro before Thursday. If we get a 12-hour setup, you know, you can enter and that trade can be closed out with profit within 12 hours. You know, that happens. If you want to avoid the euro trading the euro on Tuesday or on Wednesday, because on Thursday there's going to be a rate announcement, and you want to do that for all the pairs you trade. There's going to be very little trading that you can actually do when you have to skip an entire currency for almost a whole week because of a rate announcement. And when it comes to a US rate announcement, because the US is closely linked to pretty much every other currency, then you won't be able to ever trade, that week you won't be able to trade any pair at all. So while it is smart to be careful around interest rate announcements, because they are amongst the highest impact news releases, you simply can't avoid trading days before it. It will just mean that you can never enter a trade. But we are also going to do a webinar for Forex Mastermind members, you guys, on news, because there seems to be a lot of confusion with you guys around the subject of news, and I want to clear up how I feel about trading around news. But anyway, let's continue with the analysis because we're already 20 minutes in. Euro JPY, what's going on with Euro JPY? Euro JPY is falling into a support area, but it's very messy. It's very, very messy. I'm not too sure if I'd want to trade anything here. We are getting indecision forming on support, but there's a lot of messy price action through here, price bouncing away, minor support resistance. The move down to the support area was it just wasn't nice. Look at that candle there, that candle there, that candle there, and then it gapped down. I'm not too interested in this. The risk to reward ratio wouldn't even be that good. So, the trade would be something like that, a 1 to 1.6 risk reward ratio. I mean, even if you had a tighter stop, you might get a 1 to 1.5 at the next resistance area, but this is just too messy. I've had a few people ask me about a potential long trade here on Euro JPY, but I'm just not interested. It's just a huge mess right now. Euro USD, let's look at what's happening here. Euro USD is shooting up, but it is in between two support resistance areas, so I don't really see a potential trade here right now. GBP JPY, the pound has obviously started shooting up on Theresa May's comments. It's moved above my resistance area, so no potential trade set up there. GBP USD again started shooting up after the speech, or during the speech rather, but it's in between two support resistance areas, no potential trades there. New Zealand CAD in between two support resistance areas, therefore there are no potential trades there. New Zealand USD heading up towards a resistance area. It's heading up towards a pretty strong resistance area, in fact. So I am going to be keeping a close eye on this, but it hasn't even reached it yet, so yeah, I don't want to get too excited about that. But yeah, let's keep an eye on New Zealand USD. All right, USD CAD has broken through support. So nothing really tradable here. USD JPY, we were looking at a potential setup here last night, but it never actually triggered because price kept falling down. But now we are seeing signs of price stalling on this support area. So I am going to keep a close eye on this, but I don't really see much potential to get that good a setup here, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if the USD keeps losing value or if it's going to turn around. A lot of the times what happens with support resistance areas, because you can't actually place a solid line of support resistance. Support resistance always occurs in areas. It's never from one specific spot. What happens is price reaches it, forms indecision, and then keeps moving through, and then it forms more indecision. Perhaps it keeps moving through, and then it forms more indecision. So that is the nature of support resistance, because this area is essentially an area in which there are buyers. Now, buyers might not necessarily be strong enough to reverse price on this first candle. They might not be strong enough to reverse price on this second candle, but come the third candle, maybe buyers have gained enough strength at that point and price can reverse. So, you know, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on USD JPY. I'm not too confident on a trade setup here, mostly because I'm probably not going to get a good risk to reward ratio if I enter this, because our price has dipped so low, but it is worth keeping an eye on regardless. So keep a close eye on USD JPY. Let's check out USD CHF. USD CHF is in between two support resistance areas, therefore there are no potential setups. GBP CAD again in between two support resistance areas, so there are no potential setups. Still going to look at all the time frames, but yeah. CAD JPY I do not trade, not sure where it's on my list. AUD CAD I do not trade. GBP AUD I do not trade. A lot of these pairs I just have them open because I'm checking out trades that Forex Mastermind members are in. When they ask me to check out a trade, I'll open the pair, but it's not a pair I actually trade. Euro New Zealand, although, is a pair that I am kind of interested in trading. But yeah, there's nothing really happening here right now. It started pushing lower, so there was potential yesterday, but yeah, nothing going on here. So let's review the analysis real quick. What are we looking at? We're looking at Euro AUD. Euro AUD has a pretty nice looking setup on the daily and on the 2-day chart. Now, I wouldn't really trade it on the 2-day chart, but I'm just opening it on the 2-day chart to show you guys what is actually happening here, because sometimes when you compress candles together, it is easier to read the price action, and sometimes when you spread candles apart by going down to a lower time frame, it is easier to read the price action. In this case, it is easier to read when you push them together. So reading the price action here, what is it telling us? It is telling us that support, that indecision is forming on support. So sellers are struggling to break through support, and that we could be seeing a potential reversal. So do keep a very close eye on Euro AUD, because this is the best looking setup at the moment. New Zealand USD, I'm just keeping an eye on it because it is headed towards a strong resistance area, and we're already seeing indication of buyers shying away from that resistance area. Now, this might not turn into anything. A lot of the times when you see something like this, it doesn't turn into anything, but it could mean something. So do keep a close eye on it. See what happens, but don't get your heart set on actually taking a trade here, because it might just be that price goes bam straight through and then there's nothing, no setup there. So just keep a close eye on it. USD JPY, probably not going to happen, but it's worth keeping an eye on. The star of today is Euro AUD. Do keep a close eye on that. That could give us a nice trade on the daily chart. It's definitely worth looking at. Danny is asking, will I place price alarms on anything? Yeah, of course. I'm always placing price alarms. And that's the cool thing about TradingView. It allows you to place price alarms. So does MT4, but I kind of like the alarm system in TradingView a bit better. So you can set a price alarm based on whatever you want, and it will send you an email. And you can, obviously with Android, and I'm guessing with iPhone, although I don't really use iPhone, you could set up email alerts. You could set up your phone to actually make an audio alert based on the label of an email. So in Gmail, you label an email that comes from TradingView, and that will make your phone ring. That way you know. So you could set everything else to be silent, but your phone will ring for that specific email. So yeah, I am going to be setting price alerts for this. Price alerts will probably be set after this candle closes. So that's 8 hours away. So I will do that after the candle closes. There's no reason to set price alarms now, because if price starts pushing down, then there's not going to be a trade. If price starts pushing up, maybe actually I might set a price alarm to the long side. Yeah, you know what? I am going to set a price alarm to the long side. I'm going to set a price alarm around, actually, set a price alarm around about here. So let's call it the 1.4200. Yeah, I'm going to set a price alarm around there. I just want to be aware if price pushes up to there. I just want to be able to come back and look at my charts and see what's going on. But for these other pairs, I won't be setting. No, actually, sorry, I'm sounding very indecisive right now. Actually, I will set a price alarm on New Zealand USD. I'm going to set an alarm here just because I want to know if price does push into the resistance area. So I'll set a price alarm around about there on New Zealand USD. So that's around about the 72.10 level, roughly. That will just make me aware if price moves into resistance, but I'm not going to set a price alarm on USD JPY. New Zealand USD, I'll set it inside the resistance area. That way I'm aware if price does push into it. And Euro AUD, I'll set it just above the current, the most recent highs, or just below the most recent highs. That way I'm alerted if it's moving, if it's starting to go above the most recent highs, if that makes sense. All right, so there's multiple, and I'm not sure what you mean, Albert. Oh, because you can't see it from the iPhone software. I've been looking for other webinar software, and I haven't really found anything that works across all platforms yet. I've tested several pieces of software, and I haven't actually found anything solid yet. Yeah, I know you can only hear it. I'll figure something out this year. I was thinking of streaming live to YouTube. That might be a solution, because that's possible these days. But I'm not sure. Okay, and there was a question about from Tong Hong. There's multiple indecision candles on Euro USD daily one. Why not entering the trade? Well, there's been no entry thus far. Where would you have entered this trade? I mean, if you were basing off of this indecision candle here, Tong, there would have been no entry yet, because your entry would have been somewhere up there, or probably higher, somewhere up here. So there's been no entry yet. If you were basing it off of this indecision candle, your risk reward ratio would be probably horrible, but your entry would be somewhere up here. So there'd be no entry yet. So no entry has triggered, therefore there's no entry to this trade. I wouldn't want to enter a Euro trade before Theresa May's speech. There was no way I was going to be entering Euro or the pound until this afternoon at the very earliest. So I had no interest in trading this. I'm looking at this now after the speech, and this is when I'm interested in trading it. So looking at it now, what I would want to see would be, a push up above the most recent highs. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I had a few Skype messages and I had a few emails from members who were in GBP trades asking me if they should close them before the speech. Now, I did make myself pretty clear on the forum that it was an extremely dangerous time to trade any pair. And I wasn't even talking about GBP or Euro at the time. I was talking about AUD. What was I talking about? USD JPY. There's absolutely no logical reason anyone should have been in a Euro or pound trade before Theresa May's speech. It was just If anyone was anyone in here in one of those trades, Euro or GBP? Were you in one of those trades this morning? I don't think anyone is actually going to say yes because they're afraid of what I'm going to say to them in front of everyone. Okay, no, we do have someone saying yes. Why would you be in that trade? You know the effect of speeches. You know what they can do. Now, obviously, in this case, it has worked out for you. You were long. It doesn't matter if it's a continuation trade. The speech was happening. You knew the speech was coming. You knew the impact it could potentially have. Andrew, are speeches worse than rate decisions typically? No, they are not. Generally speaking, rate decisions are worse, but this specific speech is worse than a rate, had the potential to be worse than a rate decision. And it was, really. I mean, look what it did to the pound. This particular speech was about Brexit, which is pretty much the biggest or scariest economic news that we've seen in Europe since 2014. So, being in any trade during that speech could have been very, very bad for you. It was, don't be that afraid of all speeches. It's just, you have to think about it. You have to think about it logically. Theresa May is talking about the plan for Brexit, or she was earlier today. That's something that you do not want to be in the market for, because you have no idea what she's going to say. She has not been the most predictable person so far. I mean, she's got nothing on Trump. That guy is absolutely crazy, but she's not been the most predictable person. You don't know what she's going to say. More likely than not, she's going to say good stuff, but she could slip up. And it has happened before. I mean, if you were trading in 2008, when Bernanke was the Fed chairman, that guy would say some utterly stupid stuff at times. And I think he was doing it by mistake. And the US dollar would just tank. I learned back then that speeches were very dangerous, and I've traded as if they were very dangerous since 2008, and it has saved me a lot of grief. So please, guys, when a speech this important is happening, like the Trump conference, what was that, last week or the week before? Can't remember now. I think it was the week before. That one was very important. But we're probably not going to see another press conference from Trump until after the inauguration. Now, let's take a quick look at news. Wow, it's been 40 minutes, damn. Let's take a quick look at news, see what's coming up. All right. I just want to highlight the important ones and not the ones that I don't really care that much about. This could be something. Treasury Secretary Lou speaks. Okay, yeah, this one we need to watch out for, because he's going to be talking about tax reform, trade, the economy, and dealing with China. So that's very important. Keep a very close eye on this one. Yeah, well, as always, we need to watch out for rate announcements. So the CAD rate announcement, keep a close eye on that. Then we got the speech at 8 p.m. tomorrow. This is all UK time. 8 p.m. tomorrow, we got Fed Chairman Yellen speaks. When she speaks, it can move the market. The goals of monetary policy and how we pursue them. Yeah, this might move the market, so keep a close eye on it, but it sounds like it's just going to be a generic prepared speech, and there's no questions. Usually when a speech has a Q&A afterwards, it will list it on Forex Factory. So it will say audience questions, but it doesn't say that, so yeah, so there might not be any questions. I wouldn't fully trust Forex Factory on this because, I'm not sure what their sources are. So I'm going to look into what this speech is actually going to be about, and if there's going to be questions. Questions are usually something to worry about because let's say a reporter asks a tough question and then, they say something in response that is a bit negative or even accidentally negative. It can really move the US dollar. So do keep a close eye on that. Then we got the euro minimum bid rate, of course. Keep a close eye on that. ECB press conference shortly after. Thursday is going to be a busy news day. Yellen is speaking again. She's been speaking a lot recently. All right, yeah, another thing to keep an eye on. GBP retail sales. This one's an interesting one. I don't really worry, generally speaking, too much about retail sales, but my concern with the GBP retail sales right now is that prices have been going up because the pound has lost so much value. So while it's predicted that retail sales have gone down, it might have dropped a lot further than is being predicted right now. So do keep a close eye on this. This could be a big impact report. Let's say retail sales were to drop lower than minus 0.1. It could move the pound. So do keep a close eye on that. And President-elect Trump speaks. I don't think this is an actual conference. This is just his inauguration. Does anyone know the time of the inauguration? $4 p.m. UK time or 4 p.m. UK, right? No, that's fine then. Yeah, because I usually stop trading around about 1 to 2 p.m. on Friday. So this really isn't going to affect my trading week at all, which is fine. Yeah, okay, cool. So we have a busy news week, which is a good thing. I know a lot of people are afraid of news and you don't like the idea of not being able to trade, for example, the euro during this news release. Oh, okay. Well, and the press conference thereafter. But what happens with news, and the good thing about news is news drives price movement. So with a big news release is going to come possibly big price movement. And what happens with big price movement? Where does big price movement go? It goes into areas of support resistance at which it usually stalls, and then it retraces because news-based moves tend to retrace pretty quickly. So busy news weeks actually give us a lot of potential trade opportunities. Slow news weeks means that we don't really get much movement, so we get less trade opportunities. So yeah, it looks like a good upcoming week. Are there any questions, guys? Who's going to be watching the inauguration? Inauguration. Yeah, I'm going to watch it too. Probably with some popcorn and a few beers. That's going to be funny. I want to see how fast Obama leaves. It's going to be one of those things where he has to be there, but he doesn't actually want to. He's probably just going to get out as soon as he can. With his wife telling him not to be rude. Don't be rude, we can't leave yet. Yeah. I think he's probably going to say more crazy stuff. A lot of people have been messaging me worried about trading this year and over the next few years because of Trump and the fact that he says a lot of crazy stuff and that could have an impact on the market, which, I wouldn't be lying if I said I wasn't slightly concerned about that. But the truth is, I'm thinking this is going to end up being a case of the boy who cried wolf, where the more he says crazy stuff, the less impact it's going to have, because he says stuff and then completely turns around a few days later. Like, I think he's already going back on the border taxes on Mexico. He's talking about very massive border taxes for companies, US companies operating in Mexico, blah, blah, blah. I think he's already going back on that. Now he's talking about trade tariffs instead. So my point is, with Trump, he says so much crazy stuff and then goes back on it, and then says other crazy stuff and then goes back on it, that I think eventually we're just going to start seeing pretty much no reaction to what he says. But, no one really knows. It's going to be an interesting trading year. I know that much. I wouldn't be surprised if Brexit and Trump do cause some crazy moves in the first few months of this year. But yeah, the inauguration shouldn't really affect our trading this week. It's going to happen towards the end of the week. I don't really see Trump giving any press conferences before. One tip for you guys, it is something I've done and it is something that everyone here should do, is to follow Trump's Twitter and have it pop up on your phone. Kind of an important thing for a trader to follow Trump's Twitter, because it's going to alert you to anything, any of the extreme stuff that he says. You're going to be first to hear it, or, well, not first to hear it, but you're going to hear it from his Twitter, because that's his main avenue for sharing his insane ideas. So do keep an eye on his Twitter. It's kind of important. If he says something stupid like, well, no, actually, I think he did say something stupid that caused that big USD move, but I think that was in an interview. But, whatever. If he says something stupid, it's good to know it right away, because it might mean you need to get back to your charts and close out trades, or that there might be a good trading opportunity. So do follow Trump's Twitter. It's going to be important this year. But yeah, other than that, guys, I think if there's no questions... Actually, no, there was a question, sorry. Tong Hong, how many hours before and after speeches do you avoid trading? There is no set rule. This is the thing with trading. Everyone wants there to be set rules that you can follow with every case. But if I were to say that I wouldn't trade 2 hours before a speech, how would that apply to every speech? For example, today, the Theresa May speech, I had no interest in opening a trade on Monday or today until after the speech. So, you know, that is what, 36 hours before the speech? I didn't want to open a trade. Longer, 40 hours, let's say. 40 hours before that speech, I didn't want to open a trade. But if you go to a speech like this one we have, where was it? On Wednesday at 8 p.m, Yellen speaking. In this case, there's likely no audience questions. She's not going to be taking questions. The goals of monetary policy and how we pursue them. It's just a generic speech that she's going to be giving. Probably nothing major is going to be in there. I'm not too worried about this one. I'll probably won't open a USD trade a few hours before the speech. So, you know, Mr. E, let's not do any. Let's keep politics out of this. Anything I said wasn't politically motivated. And I don't really want. There was like an instance in the forum of people who were talking about the hate for Trump, blah blah blah, and it already started getting out of hand. You know, I don't want any politics to be discussed on the forum or in here, because it never leads anywhere good, does it? I mean, even recently, I've had friends fighting over Trump. And it's ridiculous because we don't even live in the US and my friends are fighting over Trump. It's just stupid, and I'd rather not have it in here. We all have our own opinions on politics. So I actually read a study recently that when someone's political opinions are challenged, it fires up the defensive parts of the brain. It's as if you're being attacked personally. People are get very, very angry with politics. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Well, anyway, let's go back to the question and let's forget about the politics. Yeah, so with speeches, stuff like this is, you know, there is no set rule. You can't have a rule in place that covers every situation. The Trump inauguration, I had no interest in trading USD for quite a while before that one. You know, Theresa May, I didn't really want to be in any open Euro or GBP trades at the start of this week. With Yellen speaking, I'm not really too bothered about this speech. It's probably not going to cause impact. As with anything in trading, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. So you have to look at the speech, you have to read what it's about, and you have to understand what this is telling you. So this is telling us that it's just a generic speech and that there are no audience questions. So, you know, it's probably not going to be anything to worry about. And the one on Friday, an economic outlook, again, this is probably not something to be too worried about. You know, as with any speech, just because it's a human that is speaking that could say something stupid accidentally, you know, you do have to be concerned, but it's not something that I'm going to be overly worried about. Whereas Theresa May's speech was something I was worried about. Whenever Trump speaks, that is something, at least for the first few months of this year, until whatever he says starts losing impact, whenever Trump speaks, it's something to be worried about. Because that guy just says random stuff out of nowhere. I mean, last time he spoke, he accused China of hacking, just out of nowhere. I mean, the guy is very, very unpredictable. So whenever he speaks, you know, you don't want to be in trades at that point, or at least you don't want to be opening trades near to those speeches. So yeah, it's just about taking it on a case-by-case basis. Any other questions? members of the forum can be alerted to significant important speeches or news. Well, I guess we could do that on the daily analysis like we're doing now, no? I mean, it is something, as Jonas points out, something that you could do yourself just by looking at Forex Factory. But this year in the analysis, I am going to be looking at Forex Factory and alerting you guys to any potential upcoming releases, like I am doing right now. So isn't that covering what you want, Lester? Lester, what is important with news? Just a quick rundown. Interest rate announcements, important. That is something to be avoided. Speeches, generally speaking, important, but it depends on the speech. And that just involves reading what the speech is about. And the NFP report is also very, very important. NFP report being this one here, happens the first Friday of every month. Non-farm employment change, that is very, very important. So that is pretty much news summed up. Watch out for NFP, watch out for speeches, watch out for interest rate announcements. Anything else I am never too concerned about, simply because it usually doesn't have that big an impact on the higher time frames. Sometimes it will do randomly, but that's just a fact of trading. You know, sometimes you are going to be surprised by news. You can't prepare for every eventuality. But yeah, we could do that, but I don't like adding sections to the forum. I like the forum having the sections it has, because when you start adding sections for news and then people want sections for something else, you can discuss news in the forum. We could discuss it in the price action section, because at the end of the day, news is just price action. Yeah, price action discussion section. Alright guys, I need to wrap up this webinar because my employee who's going to be uploading it needs to do so soon. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to do it. So I need to wrap up this webinar. But someone pointed out that New Zealand USD is headed into support. To resistance, and that is in fact the case. It is heading into resistance. So do keep a very close eye on this. It is pushing into resistance. This could be the move we're looking for. Keep a close eye on New Zealand USD. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this potential setup. I mean, last time it was here, it moved down very quickly. So it would be nice to catch another move like this, wouldn't you say? Yeah, you would say. And I would say so too, because that would be pretty awesome. So do keep a close eye on this one. This one looks really, really nice. Euro AUD is still looking pretty decent. So do keep a close eye on that one. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up this webinar. Thank you very much for attending. We're going to be doing another one tomorrow. Tomorrow's one is probably going to be at 11 or 12, something like that. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.